All right. So these are some of my key principles that we talk about. There's a number of these things. We're going to go through them, and then we'll do a little Q&A here in a little bit. Some of the key principles of leadership for me: think of yourself as a leader. Leaders lead people, not systems and processes. You know, one of the things I've always said is that people lead managers, not companies. Think about that. That's who creates the environment. That's who sets the tone. If you emulate anybody, you emulate the people above you. And if that person isn't acting right, and I use that term other than the one I probably would have used, use the one above them. So for me, my leader is Bishop Jakes. And I see how he walks and talks. You know, he treats everybody the same. I think I've heard Barack Obama say, you know, Barack said, I treat the guy who's serving the food just like I said, the guy that owns the restaurant, but the same level of respect. And that is who I've been. I emulated my father doing the same thing. Character requires a sense of duty, ethics, and morality. It's not a measure of competence. In times of crisis, people pick character to follow. Prime example, when the pandemic first started, and one of the things I keep up with is our viewership, et cetera. When the pandemic first started, people didn't know what to do, right? Our first Sunday service after the world literally shut down, we had 96,000 people watching our stream because they wanted to see what Bishop was going to do. That's why within this organization, we've got to carry ourselves with a level of integrity that meets bar none, because people are always going to watch. Even when we open up, they were watching that too. You can always see the peaks. We're probably averaging right now about 72 to 78,000 every single Sunday. It is absolutely amazing. Leadership must be respected, even though not loved. Make it happen and take responsibility. You can always delegate authority and still take responsibility. That's huge. A lot of people want to be responsible. Nobody wants to be accountable. And those are things you've got to always keep in the back of your mind. The true rewards of leadership come from leadership itself, not the next promotion or tangible reward. One of the things, and I'll just use me as an example. When I was at Philip Morris, I was on the East Coast, Charlotte, Richmond, Boston. My biggest rewards come when folks that I've dealt with in the past call me and they've been promoted and they quote something that I've told them, or they call me and they want me to talk them to home ownership or finance or financial literacy. And they're telling me what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they say, well, Frank, I have you to thank for that. The key for me in this whole leadership thing is really a way of life, right? You want people to learn from your mistakes so they don't repeat those same things, so they can have their one up. It's not about, the crab mentality. There's many people have probably heard the crabs in the bucket. It's not that at all. That's why I get up there in front of folks with financial literacy, and I'll tell them about the mistakes, but I also tell them about the wins as well, because I want everybody to win. Next. 10 rules. The next 10 rules represent the actions of great leaders. No organization, number one, no organization will get better until leadership admits that something is broken. How many people can actually attend to that? The climate must always allow people to speak up. Just mention that. But you've got to give consideration to that, right? So they're right and wrong time to speak up. If you got, and we'll just use our organization now, if Bishop's on the line and you have a problem doing something, and you've got 100 people on there, and the issue is just about you, it's probably not the right time to do it, right? But at the end of the day, there will be a right time, but maybe that's not it. But I would also encourage people to use your hierarchy. Find out what's going on. The environment is set up, that's what it's there for. And I have many people coming to me about different things. And the door is always open, bottom line. Leaders should always establish goals for an organization. What's the goal? When I got Dexter and I, when Dexter took over the digital space, my goal for him was world domination. And that could mean a lot of different things, right? And we talked about Bishop being on 8 different networks. We talked about the social media aspect of it. We talked about the different languages. We talked about meetings for people in the UK, China. We actually have a following every week. We probably get about 75 to 80 different donations from China. That amazes me. And I'm like, wow, this is so cool. They're not all bad. Leaders set high standards. Always know that you're always looked at, bottom line. You never know when somebody's gonna walk up on you. It's happened to me a number of times. Hey, Mr. Dyer. Hey, Mr. Frank. Hey, and I'm sitting in St. Lucia. I know you from the Potter's House. I'm like, oh yeah, you do. Let me slide this non-alcoholic margarita over to the side here real quick. Next page, please. Few more. Leaders clarify their expectations. The worst thing in the world is to have an expectation and not allow people to ask questions, because they'll go off and do their own thing and based on their interpretation. So you got to always have some clarity what you're doing. Recognize and reward success. It is infectious. It is literally infectious. Appreciate. I think every person wants to be appreciated. One of the things I try to always do is always just simply say thank you. Don't get this entitlement mentality. Just say thank you. And if you could do more, do more. You know, if you could do more, you do more, but at least say thank you. Accept a few mistakes. You know, one of the things I used to always say, and this was, I was a young leader, and I said, you know what? The first two are on you. The next one's on me. You make another and I might have to crucify you. And that's probably the wrong thing to say in this class. But at the end of the day, it's like, come on, man. The expectations that you learn as you move forward, right? You learn as you move forward. That's definitely the key for me. Don't tell them how to do the job. Allocate resources and set standards and let them know what the expected outcome should look like, and let them make their own choices there. And you can always guide them as you need to. When placing command, take charge. You know, one of the things that really bothers me when people get an opportunity to lead and they choose not to do it. You get a title, but you choose to sit back. The expectation is you get the title because hopefully you've earned it and you got the knowledge and you move forward. You know, so for me, I've got, I don't know, 14 different directs. I know a little bit about all of them to be dangerous enough that I need the impact. I can impact them one way or another. So the onus is on them to educate me more when I don't know, because that way, as I talk in other meetings when they're not involved, I can help them make better decisions or help things go the way they need them to go. And just do what's right. It's a sign of character. You know, Bishop once told me, sometimes, Frank, you just got to do what's right. No matter the cost, you've got to do what's right. I've got to do what's right. All right, next. Okay. I love this one. It ain't as bad as you think. It would look better in the morning. There's a silver lining to every single cloud. You just got to figure it out. You know, I try to teach my daughter, who's 22 and just graduated undergrad, and I'm like, dear, there's no need to panic. Let's sit back and let's think about it. Let's just think about it. It can't be that bad. There was a case where she was flying off to, where was she going? Was it Belize? I think it was Belize. She was going to do a Spanish immersion class, and she thought she'd forgotten her passport and just went in a straight panic mode. I'm like, okay, hold on. Your mother is not home yet. We can call her to see if it's in the car. Maybe you left it in the car. You know, we just kind of walked through it, and her mother had it, sent a copy of it. She was able to get through it, and we got it, and I was able to get it to her. I'm like, it's not that bad. Just think about it and just mellow out. And so many times, I mean, two things I can give you: sleep on it and come up with the next day. Or when you're just really mad about something, you type up that email, don't send it. Downsize it, save it as a draft, and think about it in the morning. I can assure you that it'll change up. I've done it many a time. It works. Next. Wow, get mad and get over it. Now, I think that's an area that we all have an opportunity with, right? Some people like to internalize all this stuff that they're mad with. They said they didn't like me 3 years ago, and I'm gonna hold on to that forever the rest of my life. Listen, get mad and get over it. My wife says I do it so well now. You know, I was one of these guys that had all these road rage. I'm driving, somebody cuts me off, and I'm like mad for 30 minutes. Now they say, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. She goes, how did you do that so quickly? I'm like, I'm not gonna let them mess with me. I'm too blessed to be stressed. Here we go. Let's keep on moving. Next. Oh, this is good. Avoid having your ego so close to your position that when your position falls, your ego goes with it. The same people you pass going up are the same people you pass going down. I think that says it all. That's why you treat everybody with kindness, with integrity, across the board, because you don't know when that may happen. Next. Oh, you read my mind now. It can be done. Just about anything can be accomplished if you set your mind to it. Have the necessary resources and the time to get it done. Don't succumb to skeptics. Don't, you know, people with, oh, you can't do it. For me personally, when they say I can't do it, it makes me want to do it even more. So be that guy, you know? Listen to what they have to say, consider their perspectives, but stay focused and positive. You know, in their negative spewing of negativity, Something may come up that you could use to help you get there even quicker. So think about that. Be careful what you choose. Don't rush into a bad decision, right? So that from an ops perspective, this is huge. Take the time to consider your options, weigh the relevant facts, and make a reasoned assumption. Once you pull the trigger, there are no do-overs, so make it count. So for me, from an operations perspective, there's a lot of things coming at you. But when you have to make a decision, you get all the relevant data that you can and make the best decision you can with that data. You pull the trigger and you move on. If you kind of go back and you want to, sideline coach or fifth quarter overtime coach, it'll destroy you. Just you pull the trigger. As long as from an ops perspective or just a leadership perspective, period, if you've got all the data and your decisioning makes sense, move forward with it. I assure you, people will appreciate an individual that can make a decision and move forward and be able to talk to why you made the decision than to not make a decision at all and just flounder out there. Next. Don't let adverse effects stand in the way of a good decision. Good leadership connects to good instincts. Be a leader who hones judgment and instinct. Take the time to shape your mental models, learn how to read a situation for yourself, become the decision maker your people need you to be. That goes back to the other one. You got to be able to make that decision. What I find myself doing, and this is going to sound kind of unique, I guess, what you have to find yourself doing is taking yourself out of the circle, looking at all scenarios outside of the circle, or inside of the circle, from the outside of the circle, I should say, and that'll help you make the better decision. If you just simply, you're in the middle of everything, somebody's hitting you from the right side, somebody hitting you from the left side, and you just make a call without stepping back and getting all the facts, you're going to probably make a decision that's not very favorable, to tell you the God's honest truth. Next. All right, you can't make someone else's choices. Never allow someone else to make your decisions for you. Ultimately, you're responsible for your own decisions. Don't duck that responsibility and don't succumb to external pressures. Make your decisions and live with them. It's on you. Some people, well, Frank, you choose. No. Because if I choose, I'm going to choose what Frank wants. So I need you to understand these are our choices. I like all three. We can make all three work. Make the call. Again, as a leader, you've got to be the one to make the decisions. And as long as you make the decision with all the factors involved at that time, because again, the other factors may come into play tomorrow or the next day. But if you got all the factors tonight and you got to make a decision by 7:45, you've got 12 minutes to make that call. So let's make that call and move forward. Next. Oh, it's all about the small things. That success is built on a lot of seemingly minor details. Having a feel for those little things is essential. The example here, in 2012 interview, David Lee Roth shared the story of how his band used brown M&Ms as an indicator of whether large concert venues paid attention to the minor details or not. They're critical to a major performance. Leaders must always check the little things about getting lost in them. One of the things and I still use this today, inspect what you expect. I may not go through, because as you see, I've got a few things to be worried about, concerned about. I'll go in, and the good thing now, I'm coming up on, it's 4 years. So most of my team, I know them pretty well. I know what they're good at and what they may be challenged with sometimes. And I'll go in and I'll just check something, and they know I will. So let me do it now, because Frank's gonna come and check, and he's gonna say something. Yep, you're right. I've got my digital salesperson, Angela. She always knows. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna look at the numbers and see what the cost per item is. Little things mean everything. Yeah, share credit. This is oh God, it's always great when success relies on the effort of the entire team, not just the leader. Recognition motivates people in ways that are immeasurable. Don't be a glory hog. Share credit where credit is due. How many people know people that do that? I absolutely hate it. When I mentioned I didn't want to be on television, that was it. I'm like, I'll give credit to the entire team first, because that's what it's about. As a leader, you're nothing without an amazing support staff. The team that does it all, they're the ones who execute. Give them credit for it. Recognize them in public. Now, granted, some people may not like public recognition. Recognize them on the side. Send them a DoorDash. I was sending DoorDash to some of my team members. And they were telling me, oh, Frank, I used to get some Papacitos. I was like, hey, great. But just whatever, find out what their thing is and make it happen. Some of them are like me. My thing is caramel. I love anything with caramel on it. Lord knows I don't need it. So I try to keep it in my house. But if it's here, I will ration it out. I don't know if you guys have gone to Papados recently, but they have a turtle brownie that's got nuts on it and caramel and chocolate. And I'll put that caramel on it. I'll bring it home and I literally cut off a sliver, a little sliver, and I'll make it last an entire week. And my wife's like, I don't know how you do that. She will sit there and eat that whole cake up. So I'll hide it in the back refrigerator so she doesn't get to my brownie. That's what you got to do, to make it happen. All right. Remain calm and be kind. I was in a scenario what was that, Friday? Yeah, Friday. I had a chance to go to a Jamal Bryant's opening. Bishop spoke, and his chief of staff was not very calm, to say the least. He, just in those situations, people look at you as a leader. They'll look at you and see where your mind is, and they reflect off of you. If you're not calm, you're got this chaos going on, they're going to reflect off of you, and it's going to get pretty insane. Keep calm and carry on. Kill them with kindness. That's one of the things I believe in too. As much as sometimes you're upset, you just kill them with kindness. When chaos reigns, a calm head and a kind word can go a long way. And that's a nugget for you right there. When everyone is under incredible stress and pressure, be the leader people want to follow, not the leader people want to avoid. Now that's nice. Next. Have a vision and be demanding. Followers need to do things from leaders, a purpose and a firm set of standards. When you see leaders fail, it's almost always one of those two things. They either lead their followers in a flailing pursuit of nothing, or they don't set it and enforce an example for their people. Every single month, we have KPIs that they've got to put forth, and there's reporting. And one of the things, and I don't know if I didn't emphasize on it, but with my direct reports, we have bi-weekly meetings, and some have weekly. If they're fairly new, within 2 years, we have weekly meetings. And we talk about those as well as everything else you got going on. You got to drive a level of accountability. I know there's like, well, Frank, this is a church. This is still a business that we've got to run. Next. Don't take counsel of your fears or naysayers. We talked about this a little bit. Fear can be a powerful motivator, but it can also paralyze a leader at the worst possible time. Learn to understand your fears and channel them in ways that you control rather than allowing them to control you. Think clearly, think rationally, and make decisions that aren't rooted in emotion. When I say you got to step outside of the circle sometimes and look at the whole scenario, that's exactly what we're talking about.